All right, happy Friday, everybody. The Avalanche have played a couple of preseason games since our last episode, and they haven't gone so well. I know it's not a cause for concern because it is preseason, but is it a cause for concern, at least in the goalie position? Maybe not so much. It's early. We got a lot to talk about for that. The Avalanche made some cuts. We will discuss the players that got sent down, the players that remain, who's vying for that last spot, and with a couple key players out, maybe there's a couple extra spots available for the first couple games. We'll talk about all that and the increase in cap, which we've been hearing about. We kind of have an idea of where that might go. All good things for the Colorado Avalanche in that regard, even though it's still a couple years away. We'll get there eventually. But these last two preseason games, I'm just glad they're over. Let's get to this.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
A 7-1 game where the Avalanche lose in the preseason, I'll shut that off. I don't want to sit around for that. I will in the regular season. I will, take those lumps. It'll happen maybe a couple times during the regular season. I'll watch those games, but I think I shut that one off after period number 2. I don't know about you.
I was actually the same. I wrote it out a little bit longer than I thought, but after that Minnesota game, the amount of "How's your boy Frankie now?" Messages I was getting, I was writing that Georgie game. I was just sitting there like, well, my phone is going to be quiet tonight. So I wrote it out to the second period, and I was like, that's my Avalanche. This looks bad. I'm going to bed.
Couple preseason games to get to, and we will do that right after we thank you for making this your first listen of the day, the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can follow us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, go to lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel over on YouTube. Hit subscribe and get notified when a new show goes live. All right, man. It's preseason. It's nothing to get riled up about, but you don't like seeing this no matter what it is. If it's regular season, clearly not. Even preseason, you don't want to get shellacked like this 2 games in a row, no less. And we're not going to sit here and dwell on the score and all that, but I think you got to pull individual players out of this. And I think we have to start in goal because the 2 games that were played, 5-2 against Minnesota, very next day, 7-1 loss against Vegas. You had our 2 goalies play in both of those games. Frankie played in Minnesota or against Minnesota, and Georgiev played against Vegas. And Georgiev only played 2 periods. I don't know if that was the plan. I think they want to get him up to speed as much as possible. But when he let in 6, right? I think they gave up 1 more after he let in 6. On like 12 shots, no less. It was just ugly. You shouldn't be that rusty. Even though this is, and this is your second appearance. This isn't even your first appearance. So whatever. I mean, I'm not like concerned about it. You want to see a better performance out of those 2. What are your thoughts on it right now, though? It's just ugly.
Well, you hit it all with a very broad brush there, and I think that's honestly the way that Avalanche fans should be looking at it. Like, this is the preseason. Nobody cares about wins and losses. What you're really watching the preseason for is individual players, how they react and how they vibe with other players on the team. And when they do get in deficits like this, how do they work their way out? Everyone on the ice did not work their way out. You didn't see that hustle. You didn't see them climb out of the hole. That's one thing you can watch. When it comes to the goalie play, what is the thing that we have said 100 million times when it comes to the conversation, every crossover episode we've had when it comes to the goalie position? With that defense in front of them, we have nothing to worry about. There's no Cale Makar out there. There's no EJ. There's no Manson. There's the get out of jail free card. It's not there for both of those goalies. So they're really getting shelled out there. They're not getting the best looks. They're not giving. And honestly, if you watch, like, especially Frankie and Georgiev towards the end of that, preseason game, they're not giving their 100% effort. They're out there getting a feel for everything, getting back in game shape, getting acclimated to the game. So you can't overreact. You can't knee jerk. Put your knee braces away. No knee jerking reaction here.
Mm-hmm.
They were bad games. You build on it. That's what the preseason is for.
As far as Georgiev goes, like the first two were difficult. I really don't put those on him. The very first goal, that was a ridiculous redirect
Yeah.
by Carlson. Like he's not going to stop that. Like that was just insane. The second one was a horrific turnover that happened, I don't know, 15, 20 feet in front of him. It was just a really bad turnover. He probably wasn't anticipating that, and a goal was scored on it. But on the other hand, the redirect, I can't fault him for that. On the other hand, you want to see your goalie kind of make those saves, and you would like to think like, okay, like he will as the season progresses, and yeah, you just have to work all the cobwebs out, work the kinks out. I get that. But we were singing his praises after game one. He played a period and a half, and we were kind of sitting here talking about, okay, like if we're gonna get this out of him, that's good. And it's not like it's a complete like 180, and it's like, okay, now what Georgiev we're gonna get. I'm not there. Like I'm not gonna do that after preseason games. You would just like to have seen him play a little bit better. I don't think even in the preseason game, you still want to see him play a little bit better. And I think he'll tell you that same thing. Same thing with Frankie. Frankie, this was his first, or no, did he play a little bit when they went to Minnesota? I think he.
Yes, I think he was on that.
That game wasn't on TV. I can never remember if he even played in that or not. I think Annunen played in that one, and
Frankie was the backup.
He might have. I don't know. Either way, like it's early. It's early. Yeah. Like I'm not. There should be no panic whatsoever. Like we're saying, we're just talking about the play. Because you flip the script and look at the opponents that they played. They did fine. Yep. Those goalies did pretty well. So it is what it is. This is what you're going to get at this stage in the season, and you just got to ride it out. As far as other individual players go, the Avs, we'll talk about the cuts in a minute, but where they don't call them cuts. That's such a high school varsity thing to do.
Everybody looking at the paper next to the locker room.
Yeah.
Looking for your name.
I don't know. Like you could tell in the Vegas game, that was very prospect heavy that game.
Yeah.
I mean, who was? I'm trying to think. Well, I got. Who was there anybody that was really like a mainstay?
JT Comfort has been the only
he wasn't
main event guy.
He wasn't in the game against Vegas.
So other than if you don't see Comfort, like that's been your only appearance of your Stanley Cup champion, Colorado Avalanche.
So when you're playing this roster, like you're not expecting to win. That's not what you're out there for in the preseason. You want to see what these guys can do.
Yep.
And it was tough. I mean, how they managed 26 shots on goal against Vegas, I don't know. It's just because they didn't seem like they could generate anything.
Yeah.
It was tough going. I'm looking at, and even Vegas played a couple regulars. But and the Avalanche played Logan O'Connor. There you go. I think he's the one with the most experience who played against Vegas. But you could just tell. You could tell like individually, these guys can be good, but there was just no cohesion, and that's kind of to be expected. So in one hand, it's like, you want to see what these guys can do. On the other hand, it's like, good luck, because you really haven't played a lot together. And did you even really get to see what they can really do? Because it just seemed like a lot of it was just one-on-one. I'm going to try to beat you. It's tough to set up plays. I don't know. It just seemed like a mess against Vegas. Everything.
When you look at it when you look at it through the prism of what a lot of these guys will be called into this upcoming season, it's not like they're really going to be commanding a fourth or third line spot.
Mm-hmm.
A majority of this roster, it's going to be when the Avalanche become the Colorado Avalanche about a month and a half in, and the injury bug bites, and we have to call up somebody from Loveland. You want to see what these guys do. Come on up. Let's see what you can do. Plug in and play. This is what we want to run. Get out there and run. And you want to see with that little bit of chaos, who could step up in those moments, who can say, no, guys, follow me. I'll show you how. You want to see that little bit of step up. And all of it being lost and feeling weird, you're just seeing who wants to step up. And honestly, it didn't really feel, especially in the Vegas game, like anybody wanted to step up. They
No.
felt like they were getting beat. And I think they were focused too much on the score instead of making things work.
Yeah. And we'll talk about some of like the Avs made roster moves, I guess is that the PC way of saying it. So we'll talk about them.
Assignments.
Assignments.
Roster
There's new
assignments.
assignments now. Is that okay? So we'll talk about them and then we talked about the lines a few weeks ago. Actually it was maybe when they signed Rodriguez and it was like, okay, now the big glaring hole is like, who's that 12th forward? Now that we've seen a couple games and we've seen kind of players play, who do we think could take that spot now? And there could be some more openings because, Gabe Landeskog is not going to start the season. And although he is skating, Val Nichushkin, from my understanding, it's not 100% that he's playing for game one. So we'll kind of throw out maybe like 3 extra players who could be taking those spots come opening roster. Puck drop against the Blackhawks. But first, we are going to go bet online. Ooh, look at that shiny, nice new graphic. I mean, if that's not a way to put you up on YouTube, I don't know what it is. But betonline.net, your number one source for football betting this season. Find all of the latest player developments, team matchup, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game that you can find. And if you bet on that Broncos game last week, I mean, I think they were the favorite in that game, I believe. So what's the baseball score going to be for the Broncos this week?
It better not be another like 7-3, 5-3 kind of game.
I'm going 8-2 somehow.
Oh,
It's gonna happen. Yeah. As always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all of your sport wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your favorite games and events, including Major League Baseball, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn more. That's BetOnline, where the game starts. So there you go. We had roster assignments, and a lot of the guys that you assumed were going to be sent down or wherever other league they play in, they were. So you had Alex Bukaj, Jean-Luc Foudy, Keaton Middleton, Oscar Olausson, and Sampo Ranta. They're all going back to the AHL. No surprises there. I think we all wanted to see Ranta because he's done it before.
Yeah,
where he's made the opening night roster. I think we wanted to see him do it again. He was just non-existent to me. I didn't see him at all. He didn't do anything to stand out. So, he didn't. It's not a surprise that he got sent down. I liked what Jean-Luc Foudy did, but I don't think it's enough to really make this team right now. I think he could be somebody in the next year or two. If he has a really good year with the Eagles, maybe during the season, they call him up for a game or two, depending on who's, in the pecking order. I don't know. I just liked how he plays hard. He really does. And he's young. So he's got some more development to go, but he kind of got pushed around a little bit, but he's got the speed. He's got the skill. I think he just needs a little bit more time to cook down there. And he's a possibility down the future. I really like how he played. I think a lot of people, I don't know how to phrase. I don't know if our people are surprised, but I think a lot of people really thought the way Oscar Olausson was playing, he had a shot.
Yeah.
And they sent him down. Yeah. That one is a little bit surprising to me.
With those two names right there that you mentioned, Foudy and Olausson, I definitely feel that Olausson could have the same track Newhook did last year. I feel like
that's another sent down and then comes up a little bit later. Yeah.
He's going to replace like your Maltsev proxy on this roster in about 2 or 3 weeks into the season. I feel like Olausson's right there. Like He is right there. What he
Yeah.
can do, especially, I would love to see him play with your poster names for the Avalanche, what he could do. But I loved watching Olausson. And yeah, Foodie looked a little undersized. He almost looked like a Sam Gerard. And hey, welcome back,
Mm.
Sammy G. You look
Yeah,
great.
he did. He really did.
Like he is undersized. What he can do on the forward, how that combination, you're gonna have to really get kind of creative with line construction with Foodie in there. And I feel like a little bit of time they figure it out, especially give him some more AHL time. I think he'll be all right. But I think Olausson, I think we might see him first out of all these roster assignments.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me if at some point he comes up. No, because I thought he had a really good couple games, and um, he's close. Like, okay, if he's not going to make it this year, okay, like we'll be okay, clearly. But I think he's on the cusp. He really,
Yep.
really is. And it doesn't surprise me that Alex Bukaj got sent down, but I thought he did well. I
Yeah.
really did. He was noticeable out there. He was taking shots. He was taking chances. He was trying to make some passes, maybe some difficult ones, but he was trying. Um, I just think it's just there's too much going. There's too many players for him to leap over
Yeah.
to make a roster spot right now. But I think he improved his value in for the Avalanche. I really do. I thought he played a good couple games. I was impressed with him.
Yeah, I put
Um,
Bukaj and Foodie right there as like the next man right behind Olausson. Olausson really put himself like right there, like on the
yeah,
cusp, on the bubble, to be
yeah.
honest with you.
So one name that you did not see on there was Martin Kaut. And that, I mean, everybody was laser focused on Martin Kaut because he's just been doing this. Seems like he's one of those players that just plays in double A baseball for 15 years. And now, this is his last shot to play in the bigs. um, and he made it thus far. He's made
Yeah.
it. So I don't know. I'm up and down on him. I didn't feel like there were times where he played okay, and then there were times where he made some bad penalty. We talked about that, and I think he's trying super hard, and you're going to make some mistakes. He was penalized a lot in 3 games that he's played in the preseason. He's been penalized a ton. You don't want to see that. On one hand, you like the hustle, and if you listen to Jared Bednar, he kind of backed him up on a couple of those, thinking that they shouldn't have been called. I don't know. Like I haven't really seen one where I thought it was like a bad call by the ref. I think they were all warranted penalties. Is that a problem for him? I don't know. He hasn't played enough for at an NHL level to know if that follows him around making kind of stupid penalties. I think he's just trying extra hard. On one hand, I appreciate that. On the other, it's like, well, you can't do that if you're with this roster because you're going to hurt this team. And then he sometimes he played well. Um, I don't I think it was what was the game where Newhook scored first? That was against
Minnesota.
Minnesota. And a lot of people are like, well, Kaut had a goal and an assist, I think, in that game. Let me see if he had more than that. No, he had a goal and an assist. Well, the assist came on that Newhook goal where Newhook
Nice
passed
pass.
a beautiful pass from Newhook, which like I want to see him put those goals away. It's just him and the goalie. It's one-on-one.
Yeah.
And he couldn't get it past them. And Newhook just, cleaned up the scraps to put the goal in, and he kind of got the assist that way. But then he did have a nice goal to start the second period. So he had a missed opportunity on a goal, and then he took a penalty in that period, and then he came back in the first minute and scored a goal to kind of like, you like those redeemable moments. I'm on the fence with Martin Kaut right now. I genuinely don't know if I would put him on there. I want to see him do well, and I think he has the ability. He's got the size. He would fit well with the Avs. It's just, are the mistakes going to constantly creep up if he does make this opening night roster?
Kaut hasn't moved the needle for me at all. If anything, he's taken a step back in my eyes, in my book. And yes, I keep paper logs of games, so
Mhm.
because I'm weird like that. Like I don't like Martin Kaut in this new effort. Um, we talked like in the first segment, these games don't count. Let's not worry about it. You don't want to keep building on the ridiculous penalties going into the season. Like our penalty kill, yes, it's strong, but let's not test it all the time. And especially, we just got done talking about Olausen and how incredible he is, and he's now going back down to Loveland, and we're giving a chance to Martin Kaut, who really hasn't done anything for me. His play is mediocre, and he's doing these goofy penalties, and he's just acting like he's always angry. He's always in a bad mood, and I'm just like,
Which is
how's
okay.
this?
I'm good with
How,
that. You can be
I
in a
mean,
bad mood.
it's what Nathan McKinnon does, but I mean, I just don't
Yeah.
want like have hit constantly looking at him in the penalty box just over there just seething. Like
Mhm.
I can't like, and it's not what we want. It's not Avalanche hockey. We don't have our goons like yeah, Miko gets the random goofy penalty late in the game always with about 3 minutes to go. We always got to kill off a penalty before we end the game, but we don't need to add to that.
Yeah.
And I understand we're giving him a chance. He's been around forever. But he hasn't done anything to impress me and warrant this spot. So I think it's just the Avalanche fully giving him this chance and this opportunity, like skate with the guys, skate with the like you see what he's doing in practice, like fully give him
Mhm.
a shot, but I don't know if this is it.
Well, I mean, let's talk about what the lines could possibly be. I mean, you're going to have Landeskog's out.
Hmm.
He's out for we don't know. I mean, at least the opening day just seems like it might be a few games for him. Valenchuskin, don't know yet. I think they're going to wait till last minute to kind of make a decision on him. So you might be down those two guys for opening night against Chicago. Let's just assume that they are. Who do you put on this roster? I mean, you're gonna have Lehkonen, you're gonna have McKinnon, you're gonna have Rantanen, Rodriguez, you're gonna have Newhook, you're gonna have JT Comfort, you're gonna have Logan O'Connor. So what? Who? I mean, he might be put on this team opening night because you're gonna need some bodies there. So, I mean, who do you put over him right now?
Oh my word. Oh, you're gonna like you're making me like I don't know. Like I honestly like I don't
That's
feel
the
like that's the thing, like, Count on this roster like, we haven't mentioned, like, Cogliano and Helm, they still
you're
exist.
gonna have
They're part of
Cogliano on
this
him,
roster.
right? Yep.
Like, I feel like they could add more without going to the box. Like, I don't know if what he's bringing right now is enough to justify him a spot on the roster even with potentially 2 members down. That top line's right where it is. Um, that
So
second line,
yeah. I mean,
you
you're gonna
might
have you got 10 guys basically right now.
yeah.
You have 10 minus Landeskog and Nichushkin, assuming Nichushkin doesn't play.
J-Mac is one of these guys.
You could put him in there. You could
J-Mac
put him in the front in a forward spot. You have Ben Myers. I don't think Ben Myers has done a ton in the preseason.
no.
I don't. I think he's going to be very good,
I do too.
but I think he's a little bit raw. And I think he's just maybe a little bit too young. Doesn't he might, but he's made it so far.
Yeah.
He has not been reassigned yet, so he's still there. So I mean, I think your top options here. Oh, you know who else made it was Shane Bowers. Shane Bowers
Quietly.
also, yeah. I don't see him kind of grabbing one of these spots. I think your kind of the guys at the forefront here could be McDonald.
Yeah.
It's Kaut. I think they like Ben Meyer, so he might be in the mix. I like how Sedlak has played in the preseason. I really, really do. And I kind of feel like he is going to be one of those. If it's here's the thing, it's like, okay, you gotta have two guys. So give me your top two ranked. Because if it's just one, if after like Nichushkin, if say Nichushkin is available to play, then you only need one guy. Is that Kaut? Is it Myers? Is it Megna, who they use a lot? They bring Megna up a lot. Is it Maltsev?
No.
There's options here. There's a lot of options. None I feel are like head and shoulders are above anybody else.
Number one is J-Mac. I feel like you could put him in
Yeah.
if Nuke comes back, still bring in McDonald. He's gonna be fine. If he's out, Myers, even though he wasn't impressive in preseason, he was in for the garbage time of last season. He was in all of those games, and he was he was there. He's fine. He knows how to work the Avalanche main roster, how things are done. He understands,
Mhm.
and he could be enough until Landy comes back. Because if then you are evaluating all of those players you just mentioned on their performance when they're really not accustomed to being in that role. And I feel like you're also casting a little bit of a shadow of a doubt on the future in an unfair light. So I
Mhm.
would go with McDonald and Myers just based on how they know how to work with this team.
Hmm. Yeah, I think, man, it's tough. It's so tough, and like you don't know what the mindset is with Kaut. You don't
Yeah.
like you were saying earlier. You don't know if the Avalanche are thinking, and taking his own words into account. Are those two things matching up? Are the Avalanche saying, is he saying might be my last shot, and are the Avalanche saying this might be his last shot?
This is your last shot.
Let's let him have that shot, and then if it's not, we can say we tried, kid.
Yeah.
We tried multiple times. I don't know. I just get a gut feeling that's where they are with him, and I think they're going to give him a chance. And then the other one for now, yeah, I just kind of feel like it's. And I love McDonald. He's one of my favorites on the team because he just his work ethic. But I think because now that they have Myers in the mix, they want to get him up to speed as quick as possible and kind of have like a learn on the job type of mentality. And you can do that on the fourth line. You're only going to get 7-8 minutes, and go out there, work your butt off for those few minutes, and use that as moving yourself up the ranks.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you're telling me that McKinnon, or excuse me, Landeskog and Nichushkin are out, and you need two other guys, yeah, I think I'm going Count and Myers. I think that's what I would do. I don't know, and then you have to figure out where they're going to go in the lines, but we shall see. We shall see. As far as the
It's
yeah,
interesting that we both have Myers in there, but it's
but he didn't
Houghton.
impress me.
Yeah, but it's what he could do with the main roster. And
But that's the
you got to
thing,
also
right?
think we're opening the season on a banner-raising night. The last thing you want is some blunder to put a damper on that night. We lose like 2-1 as we raise a banner off some goofy mistake.
Yeah,
So
but
go with
and
experience.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like preseason, there's some guys that their career is going to live and die on the preseason. Nathan McKinnon could play a horrible preseason, and we're not talking about moving him. Clearly,
Yeah,
so for someone like Myers, it's an odd situation because I don't feel like he's played particularly well in these preseason games, but you know what you have in him.
yeah,
So do you leave him there knowing that he's just got to get some reps in and he'll snap out of that? Yeah, I think for some players you do that. And because he's just unproven and so young, I think some people are thinking like, nope, didn't cut it, kid. But the Avs might have the mindset of like, he'll be fine.
yeah.
He'll be fine. Get him, with the usual players, and we'll be good. So yeah, I think that's kind of why you throw him in the mix on that. So and finally, we just want to talk about the salary cap. The NHL kind of informed teams of it's not set in stone by any stretch of the imagination, just what the cap could approximately look like for the next 3 seasons, 4 if you want to include this year, actually. So we know what it is for this year, 82.5. It's going to go up another $1 million next year to 83.5. For the 24-25 season, it's going to go up to 87, somewhere between 87.5 and 88 million. So that's $5 million more than this year. And then in 25-26, the following year after that, could be approximately $92 million. So that's $10 million. It should go, yeah, make it rain. You know, so next year only a modest $1 million, but then 5 million after that, 5 million based on what the salary cap is for this year, and then 10 million in 3 years for the 25-26 season. I think, you know, they say it's approximate for 92 million. It wouldn't surprise me if it's a little bit more than that. I
Yeah.
think the NHL is doing well, and these new TV deals, it's only 1 year, but it's gone well, and I think it's doing, you know, in that 1 year that it's been on ESPN/TNT, I think the numbers were bigger than they thought they
Yep.
were going to be. So if that's the case, then why would you just not think it's going to increase even more? You get a lot of TV revenue, and you know, there's a lot that goes into this. And I'm not saying like, if I'm saying I feel like it's going to be higher than 92. It's not like I feel like it's going to be 102, but it could be around like 94, 95, if you ask me. No idea where I'm coming up with that number, but I just feel like they're probably lowballing, because they don't want to go too high and you know, get too, I don't want to say greedy, but
Yeah, I watched Shark Tank. I know that's a bad business deal. They'll
yes.
be out in a second. But no, and you know, you're not wrong. Like this is the last run for the reverse retros, this new 2.0. So that's going and fans in the stadium to go and buy those jerseys.
Mhm,
So that's going to help. We got the global games back. That's going to help.
mhm.
Like everybody's getting more comfortable being in full arenas. That's going to help. Like even like your teams that you would write off every year are more interesting. The attendance is going to rise. The interest in the sport's going to rise because of the ratings that you got in the Stanley Cup. You're welcome. Um, like I feel like, yeah, I completely agree. I think that number is a little low and they know it's low and we're going to be pleasantly surprised in a couple years.
Yeah, and I think it's intentional because they don't want to go to 95, 96, and then if it is 92, that's a bad look. And they told the teams like, this is obviously approximate. Don't set it in stone. Don't start making plans based on these assumptions. But I think as far as number wise and revenue wise, everything is looking good
Yeah.
for the league. So, you know, why would you not think it can go even higher than that? So, and for the Avs, knowing, you know, we talk about it a lot. You obviously signed Nathan McKinnon to that big contract. You have some big contracts in the hopper with Alex Newhook and Bo Byram, although they won't be, you know, massive. They're still gonna. There's money that needs to be shored up to pay them. So it's not just the Avalanche. Like it's good news for all 32 teams right now. So.
And 25-26 is about when the Miko deal starts expiring.
Yeah, his is up when? Let's see. Is
I
that the last year of his? 24-25 is the last year of his deal. So
so
he's a free agent 25-26.
right when everything
So
gets beefy.
um yeah, so 25-26 is when it could go up. So that's obviously good news for the Avalanche. Logan O'Connor is actually is up in that year as well. So just to throw that one out there.
We will make more. We'll talk
Mm,
about it 20. Make sure you
it's a-
subscribe. We'll talk about it
yes.
25-26.
Yes. All right. So Avs have when's their last one? They got one more preseason game.
Monday.
It's Monday night. Okay. So we will be back Monday. Obviously, they haven't played that game yet, but anything that happens over the weekend, is that right?
We got
And who's it against?
October 3rd versus Dallas, October 5th versus Dallas,
Oh, they have
and
two.
then yep, we have two more.
Two more. Okay.
And that last one on October 5th, it's showing me TNT for that one. For everybody struggling to find these games,
I think they're actually doing a double header. I think they're doing a playoff or a preseason double header that day. Don't quote me on that, but I saw somewhere that they were doing it. It could be the wrong day, but hey, I don't care. Preseason, I'll watch preseason
hockey's hockey, man. Let's
double header.
go.
I'll give me a triple header. Okay. All right, everybody. We will be back on Monday. So enjoy the weekend. Stay safe out there. Enjoy the Bronco football game. Hopefully they can start getting some offense going. So thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. And maybe the Avalanche offense can get going as well in these preseason games. That would be nice. Until
It's the altitude.
Yeah, clearly. Yeah, it affects the home team too. Yeah, thanks for tuning in and making your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. Make sure you follow us on all of our socials, including our YouTube channel. For Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan, I am Chris Maselli, and this is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys on Monday.